Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we are taking a look at I believe the last of the 2018 Papo figures that I have to review. I know there are a few randoms like a male Smilodon and a cave bear that I haven't reviewed that I probably will at some point, but as far as the dinosaur figures go, this, I believe, is the last one. This is the Acrocanthosaurus, and it's really a figure that I've already reviewed, but this is the repainted version. This is a new repainted version. The older version had a, purplish look to it. It was a little different, and I will bring that one in and show you a comparison with this one in a few minutes here, but let's take a closer look at this one. Now, as far as the sculpt goes, we have reviewed the sculpt of this guy before, so there's not really too much that needs to be said about it. If you've watched the other review, you know that I am a big fan of the sculpt, and I think that the detail on it is really, really incredible. It is just absolutely immense, as most Papo figures are. This thing is sculpted incredibly. If you do want to see the review of the previous version of this, I will throw a link in the description for you to watch. So go ahead and check there, watch that review, and you can get a good idea of what I think of the actual sculpt of this figure. Regardless, as far as the new paint of this thing goes, I think that the new paint is just jaw-droppingly awesome. It looks so much better in my opinion than the other one did. The other one didn't look bad by any means, but this new paint is so realistic looking, and there are just so many different variations and shades of color all over the place on this thing. I just absolutely am in love with it. You can see just looking here at the head, there are just so many different shades and tones of coloration all over the place. There's like a reddish brown type color here at the upper part of the palette, and then down here behind the eye, and the eye is like a darker coloration. It's like a nice dark wash around it. The eye is a beautiful yellow color with a black pupil. It is really incredibly nicely glossed. Even the lower jaw, you could just see sorts of different variations of color that has been added all over the place to the lower jaw. The jaw, as with every Papo carnivore, is articulated, and the inside of the mouth looks very nice. It's painted beautifully, sculpted phenomenally, as I've mentioned in the other video. And the teeth are all painted nicely on this one as well. Very, very nicely done. And the overall head looks fantastic. Such a more realistic look to it. It really looks incredible. A nice, very dark, beautiful look. You can see that the color variation does not cease as you run down the neck. The color is all over the place with the difference. There's just so many variations of color, just making it look so much like a real animal. I feel like the paint job is just so high quality. It's something that you would probably only normally get from sending like a resin kit to a model painter, like somebody that does this normally. If you were to send it to like Shane Folks or someone, you would get an incredible paint job like this, but Papo has somehow managed to deliver this on a mass-produced figure, and it is just beautiful. Everywhere you look, there's just so much that has gone into the paint of this figure, and I feel like that the overall appearance of this paint scheme is just very, very striking. Just look at that, it looks incredible. It looks so cool. The only area that I don't really like on it is this random little splotch of like a light gray or a silvery type of a color. I don't even know, but that's the only area that I feel like is a little strange, and it's not very nicely applied, honestly. It kind of looks a little sloppy. Even on the other side, you can see it really looks more like paint than body color. But other than that area, everything just looks incredible, and it really looks like the body color of the animal. It looks very, very natural. You can see as we go along here that the sculpt is just phenomenal. There's just so much going on in the sculpt all over. So much in the way of minute little details and all. But we are basically just looking at this for the new paint scheme, and the paint scheme is phenomenal. It really looks beautiful. I love the stripes that run all over the place on this. Both sides, just absolutely jaw-droppingly beautiful. The way that has been applied to this figure. Again, the only area is that little spot right there I'm not a big fan of, but it doesn't look bad. And from a step back, you really don't notice it too much. It's just up close. You can see that it doesn't look that great. Could look better if my camera would focus. It would look a little better, but you can see it looks okay, but it doesn't look that great. But overall, everything on it just looks fantastic as far as the stripes go and the variation of different colors all over the place. It just looks so good. Very natural, very real, looks like the body color of the animal, and it has so many different shades and tones to the body and the paint scheme that it just looks alive. It really does. It looks so real to me. So fantastic job by Papo on the brand new 2018 Acrocanthosaurus repaint. And as I mentioned, the previous color scheme was this one. So you can now have two different versions of the Acrocanthosaurus if you would like. You can have the older, it's a little bit of a weirder color scheme. I wasn't really super sold on the color scheme. It looks good. It looked better, in my opinion, on the promotional photos when they were advertising this as a 2017 release. I thought that the promotional pictures made this paint scheme look much nicer than it turned out in person, but it did still look really quite nice. It's definitely a very, very cool look to it, but I think that this newer version has a much cooler look to it than the older version. However, if you were able to purchase this one before they retired it, you would probably still buy them now. I don't really see why not. I'd imagine there's still some floating out around there somewhere, but if you had purchased this one before you purchased this one, you can always just make this a pair that looks a little different, or maybe two different ones from two different packs that just have a little bit of difference in color variation. It's very cool to have different versions of the same dinosaur, in my opinion. I really love doing that. That's why I kind of get addicted to buying bootleg figures, so I can always have different variations of figures that I already have. And here you can do it without buying a bootleg. You can buy it straight from Papo and have two very cool looking versions of the same dinosaur. As far as the size goes, nothing has changed in the size of this dinosaur figure from when we had reviewed it before. It's about 11.5 inches or 29 centimeters to the tip of the tail, and for a height you are looking at about 5 3/4 inches, almost somewhere in that area, and about 14.5 centimeters. So it's definitely a big figure. For a size comparison, there's Mr. Papo T-Rex, and you can see that he is definitely quite nicely sized to the Acrocanthosaurus. They're probably not proportioned and sized perfectly with each other, but it still shows you that the Acrocanthosaurus is a pretty decently sized figure. So this newer repainted version of the Acrocanthosaurus is pretty much just the icing on the cake for a great year out of Papo as far as new figures go. I feel like these figures that they've had this past year have been some of my favorite that they've released in years and years, although honestly I can't really ever recall a year where Papo released some figures and I wasn't thoroughly impressed at some point with at least numerous figures that came out. They always do a great job, in my opinion, and their figures always look so nice and so real, and this guy is no different. He looks fantastic, and this new paint job is just phenomenal. I love it, and I love it way more than I loved it on the older version. I think that it just looks super cool and super striking on this brand new Acrocanthosaurus. So if you do want to buy this guy, I will link you to everythingdinosaur.com, as that is where I got mine. So head over to Everything Dinosaur, pick one up for yourself, and then please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.